Cafe Networking podcast promotes successful business experts. I'm Tom Rioch, connecting people throughout the world from my podcast studio in Brazil. Joining us today from New York is Kisha Wynter, CEO of Wynter Rich Enterprises, speaker and author of Your Power Unleashed. Kisha helps high-potential corporate women own their power, get confident, get promoted, get paid, and get hired, and helps companies create transformative coaching cultures. So, Kisha, what are 3 ways to go from invisible to credible at work?
It is all about the communication. A lot of people have expertise in their roles, but they're not able to communicate effectively. So 3 communication strategies that I share with my clients are ensuring, 1, that you're flexing your communication style. We can get into more details on that. 2, speaking in bullet points. And 3, slowing down your speech.
Aha. That's probably the best of all.
That's what?
That's probably the best of all 3.
Yeah, slowing down. And it's something that I literally struggle with. And sometimes I still have to actually slow down because there's so much information coming at us. There's so much we want to get out. But really using deliberate pacing, using what I call pregnant pause to ensure that you're enunciating and articulating, and that people have the ability to really process what you're saying.
No, I totally agree. We spoke about this a little bit before we started recording. In a global world that we live in, and even in the States where you are, most people don't understand our own language at the same speed.
Exactly.
We don't do that. For us to, reprogram ourselves to what we're hearing or listening to, we need a couple seconds. Mm-hmm. And I learned that, obviously, being in Brazil. When I came here, I didn't speak Portuguese. But one of the things that I had to learn, because I needed to slow down whatever I was saying, and even learn to mimic many times to communicate. And then you learn the power of communication is not only in the word.
Yeah, it is so amazing. And it's funny because when we're able to do that, and I love that you put the global aspect to it. And I remember the first few YouTube videos that I uploaded a number of years ago, people made comments on my videos or even sent me DMs saying they really appreciated listening to my videos because they could understand me as people that spoke English as a second language. And that wasn't intentional. I was practicing slowing down my words because I knew it was a challenge. And then I realized, like my audience, I do have a global audience, and they appreciate that I was slowing down my words so they could understand.
From a corporate point, most corporations, they don't realize how much of a global audience they have within their own corporation.
Yes.
So what you just said, communicating within the framework of a corporation of the same company, we need to slow down. It's not the same as in Pittsburgh or Frankfurt or even in Shanghai. Whatever the language, we need to slow down.
Yeah. And then going back to the first one, Tom, this actually also applies from a global standpoint, flexing your communication style. I'll say a lot of times in corporations in the US, we talk about being influential. Mm-hmm. And the standard for being influential is all about owning the room, being assertive, taking up space,
right,
and not realizing that, okay, there's nothing wrong with that. I'm not going to bash it. It's not my style. And not a lot of other people's style, but there are other ways to communicate and influence effectively. You could use an inspirational way of speaking. Mm-hmm. That's a way of communicating. You could use the ability to connect with someone authentically one-on-one, which requires warmth. So it's not just about being assertive. And it's probably one of the number one things I work with my leaders. Especially leaders that are already successful and are at the top, they're not able to connect with folks a lot of times because they only do what has been successful for them. And typically, at least here in the US, it's loud, assertive, and then they alienate people with different styles. And so I'm like, okay, so that's worked for you. However, in this environment, it won't work. So it's about learning to flex the style based on the situation and the people, the audience you're speaking with.
And to corporations, that's valid. And to professionals who want to be global, they need to have a better understanding of the cultures. Business cultures, when I say it's the same, there are similarities, but they're actually different in each different country that we go. And you've seen that traveling. It's different. Obviously, from a corporate standpoint, you're here on a training. You want to bring basic values that should be the same and preserved, but also have an understanding for the local flavor.
Yeah. Yeah. And that curiosity is really important. And so I think without curiosity, you're not able to be aware. And when you're not aware, you're not going to flex to be able to connect with whomever you're talking to, wherever they're from, whatever environment they're in. So.
And also the other point that you mentioned in bullets, right?
It's bullets.
Being objective, being slow, being objective.
It differentiated a little bit from the slow down. Slow down is being deliberate and pacing. Bullet points is your rambling. Like actually what, like, bottom line, what is it you're trying to say? And people love to follow. I learned this when I started making YouTube. I was going through some training. And they said, all right, people will follow and watch the whole video if you say 1, 2, 3 points. And the reality is the minute somebody says, okay, I have 3 points to make, and you're ready to get your note, at least I am, ready to get your notes out, and you're writing and you follow. So it's ability for somebody to follow you logically and keep up with what you're saying. And it prevents this rambling.
And that's really the interest, to help people to reach the maturity of what they're learning or hearing. That's essential. Yeah. We could speak for an hour, but experience shows that people don't remember more than 5 minutes of your hour.
They don't.
And that's in any setting.
That's why I love, you said 3 ways to go from invisible to credible. That's it right there.
Now, you work with women, all right, but you also work with corporations. Yes. So I don't want to say you say the same thing to both sides of the desk, but you understand both sides of the desk.
Yes, I work with women and I work with women in corporations. So the reality is that in order to be successful, we just talked about going from invisible to credible from a communication standpoint. But I think there are 2 things that I talk about: coaching the individual and then coaching the system. What does that mean? Coaching the individual, it's this idea of owning your power, knowing your brilliance, owning it, showing up in it so that you can contribute at your highest level to not just your life, but in the organization that you're working with. An organization wants that. They do want that.
They need that.
And sometimes they need that, right? That's the whole purpose, is that it's that intellectual powerhouse that you're bringing in. However, sometimes organizations get in their own way.
Right. So people get in their own way. So
that's the reality. So you're hiring this person, and I talk to women, but I do coach men as well, people from all backgrounds. So you hire them for this one thing, but then you bring them in and you ask them to change and assimilate to your culture, essentially killing that differentiator. And so that is what I do. I also coach the organizations to help them understand what is it that you're doing that diminishes the talent in your organization, that causes them not to show up in their brilliance. Because I think the coaching is from both sides, from the individual and an organizational standpoint.
Very good. So how can our listeners find you, whether they're the corporation or whether they're the person?
My favorite place to hang out is on LinkedIn. So I'm actually everywhere by my name, Kisha Wynter. So LinkedIn, Instagram, YouTube, you can find me there. And then on my website, yourpowerunleashed.com.
Very good. Well, Kisha, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me, Tom. It's great speaking with you.
Thank you. And again, for our listeners, it's Kisha Wynter, Kisha, the last name Wynter, Wynter. Find her on LinkedIn and yourpowerunleashed.org, yourpowerunleashed.org. Cafe Networking is brought to us by Focus MI Market Intelligence, an agricultural market research specialist in Brazil. More information at focusmi.com. Talk to Tom, talk to the world. Thanks for listening. Until the next time here at Cafe and Networking Podcast.